representing Franchise Secrets, Erik Von Horn.
Hey, in this episode of Franchise Secrets, I have two business partners of mine, Herr and Brennan. They're business partners at Front Street Equity Partners. And we jumped into some fun discussion today. What are the must-haves in your franchisor? What are the need-to-haves? And what do you want to have? And by the way, these are not just for franchisors, or they're for people that are thinking about franchising their business. And there's really good information in here for franchisees that are part of an emerging brand. It'll kind of give you some insight into your brand. And then people that are thinking about buying a franchise. It will help you formulate questions to ask brands to make sure that they are what you think that they are. We get into things like what's the first rule of franchising, how to really prep your franchise to scale. Do you really want to scale your franchise? So it was a lot of fun with my buddies, Jeff and Bobby. Hope you enjoy the show. Hey boys, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hey, Take Two Productions.
Bobby's first time on the show. He comes from an amazing background in franchise development and is talented in many different ways, from leadership and helping brands grow, helping a ton of people get into the franchising world. Everyone knows who Herr is. If you've listened to the show at all, he's been a frequent guest on in the past probably year. And then you've got myself. And what the audience probably doesn't know until now is we're all business partners. We're all business partners in Front Street Equity Partners, where we help emerging franchisors grow enterprise value in a compressed time frame. And so today, what I thought would be an interesting topic of conversation is talking about business owners that are going to franchise their business, and some of these business owners who have already franchised their business and they're a little bit stuck and they have not had the growth that they thought they would have, because it's very common out there. Unless you are connected with somebody like Front Street and some of these others that have, it's not their first rodeo. And then at the same time, let's talk to the franchisees out there, new franchisees or people that are going to franchise their business, and what it's like getting into a brand that is brand new. Because some people think you get into a franchise is a franchise. If they have, they're getting into an emerging brand with a handful of franchisees, they think, hey, this might be just the same thing as a brand that has 500 locations out there. And that's not necessarily true. So I think with the backgrounds of all of us, what we're doing at Front Street, the brands that we get to talk to, everything that we have going on, this will be a very fun conversation. But Bobby, why don't I kick it over to you first? Give us a quick background, 60-second background on who you are.
Now, I'm excited to be here with two franchise legends. No, franchising, whether I meant for it to be or not, was kind of in my DNA. As a 15-year-old, I was working for a friend's dad, owned a Dairy Queen. I graduated high school, went to college. Dumb luck. I say dumb luck because it was luck. The recession happened, 2008. And I was graduating in corporate America, just didn't appeal to me. It wasn't sexy. It wasn't exciting. And I jumped on with a startup franchise that had a handful of locations, working for the first franchisee they had. Fast forward a couple of years and we scaled that. I had opened up 10, 15 locations as a 20-some-odd-year-old. And then we grew to 65 plus locations before I realized e-commerce was going to eat us alive in the retail category of what we were doing. And we weren't ready to compete, didn't have a presence. So I jumped ship and worked for a few startup companies, strangely enough, selling to a lot of franchise companies, whether it was corporate America or startup, and then worked for a startup franchise sales organization that essentially was kind of like Front Street Light. They provided some of the services, but not the full service and suite, but helping franchisors grow. So with them, I got a chance to work with about 15 different brands, which is just incredible to work with, a great team, and help award about 1,650 territories. So really make huge impact on not only the brands, but the franchisees, and even the FSO I worked for, as well as a lot of the brands, got some acquisitions or some private equity coming to them to want to invest because of the growth that they saw in such a compressed timeline. So high level, I eat, sleep, and breathe franchising.
Jeff, any comments on that?
Eat, sleep, dream. Yeah, we always kind of talk about like once, it's pretty much very common to hear that like once people get into franchising, they never get out. I mean, sometimes the, different brands can kind of come and go and, how you're engaged with them. But at the end of the day, it's just so exciting to see because everybody in their personal life, business life, they want to grow. They want to evolve. They want to, as you get older, you want to give back, like all these good things. And, when you really kind of dial into like business, if you're a business owner and you built a company or a brand or whatever it is, you want to grow. You want to continue to grow that business. You want to grow, you want to scale. And usually that kind of starts out like locally, and then some of these entrepreneurs can kind of get it regionally, but very difficult to build something nationwide. And without franchising. I don't know, there's a handful that can do it here or there, but that is, that's a real challenge. Not to say that franchising is not a challenge, but I think that there are some, that relationship and the alignment between a franchisor and a franchisee to build something nationally and is really exciting. And I think franchising is that distribution model that can give a brand or a company a more probable outcome of expansion outside of their local environment or regional environment. So yeah, I'm a lifer. I've been a lifer so far. I'm going to keep it going.
We get to talk to a lot of new brands, and all three of us have talked to tons of new brands, like early on new brands. On the way here, I got a message from a young brand, and I sent it to you guys. And you're like, hey, this is one I think we're interested in. So we get in front of brands that most people have never heard of, because most young franchisors, most people have never heard of. And that's why they're reaching out to us, reaching out to me. Why don't we go behind the scenes a little bit? Because we get to have these cool conversations with people that are, Jeff, we're talking to one right now, and Bobby, that is not even a franchise yet. And they don't even know what they're in for. We talked to others that are franchising and they're just getting things ready to really scale and to go to rapid growth. So let's talk about some of the challenges that they face, some of the decisions that the founders need to make as they go from maybe a little mom and pop franchise awarding a handful of franchises a year to like really creating value, both for the franchisee and the franchisor. So what are some of the challenges that you see, or some of the decisions that some of these founders need to make, whether it be around, like when to hire an FSO or to have it in-house, or maybe it's like when to scale the team, how to scale the team, when to bring on, a COO, or maybe they just need to be a director of operations. Like there's so many decisions that need to be made, and timing is so important because a young brand can burn through a ton of cash. So those are the kind of things that I think would be a fun thing to talk about. And as we talk about this, let's mix in like what a prospective franchisee should be aware of when they are looking at brands that are probably in this stage. So where do you want to go? Jeff, I'm going to kick it over to you, and then Bobby, kick it over to you.
One of the things that I say on virtually every first call that we have with a brand, and I say it in jest, but it's kind of real, because I want to prepare these folks for the realities out there. So I usually ask them, like, do you know the first rule of franchising? And nobody's ever gotten it right. Nobody's, or at least what I believe is the answer. And I literally say to them, the first rule of franchising is don't franchise your business. I think that, I don't know the statistics, but things that people throw around is there's give or take 4,000 franchise brands out there, food, non-food, service, brick and mortar, you name it. There's about 400-ish new brands that go through the legal process to become a franchisor and kind of raise the flag. Hey, I'm a franchisor. Come over here. But the one stat that is unclear, but I've heard kind of rumblings, is if there's 400 new ones that are coming on board, there's 300 or more that are exiting. They decided to franchise a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It didn't really work for them. They got stuck. That's the term that I use. They got stuck, and they came to the conclusion of, I'm not going to franchise anymore, or I might just unwind it. But we're not gonna renew our FDD. We're not going to offer any new franchises. And I think that will continue. One of the things that we also talk to when we're talking to an emerging concept that wants to franchise their business is, you're an expert at what you do in your bubble, right? To the point where you believe you have a proven model that others can follow and make happen as a franchisee. And I love that. And I actually believe that. And I know that they believe that. But what it's the old, like, you don't know what you don't know. And there's two separate businesses here, right? You have your operating company, which you've completely figured out how to get customers, how to hire and grow and manage the right people, how to grow top line, how to decrease expenses, how to widen margin. You're there. The second business, though, is the business of franchising that model. And that is a completely different trade. That's a completely different business. And that's what we're experts at, because of just going through the school of hard knocks. I've been doing this for 18 years, 40 different brands. It's getting easier, but it's never going to be easy. And I'm somebody that's in the know. 8,000 franchises later, I feel like we can add a lot of value to these type of concepts, but we're in the business of helping these entrepreneurs franchise their business. And we don't want to go in with rose-colored glasses. We really want to tell them like the truth of what it is. And, what we're talking about here is taking the business model, packaging it up as a franchise company, going through a process of what we call go-to-market, then launching it, then getting traction, then onboarding new franchisees, hopefully multiple per month, then going through that grand opening process, then going through getting them to break even, and then going to help them, widen their margins and be happy and profitable, then build this grid around the country, then go through a process, right, where they can exit. There it is. That's the yellow brick road.
That's the playbook.
That's the playbook.
That's the playbook. The thing is that's the roadmap.
That's the roadmap, right? But we could literally hand them, if somebody handed me an architectural plan and an operating manual to build a house, Jeff Herr couldn't build a house. If it was paint by numbers, I couldn't do it. So I wouldn't do it because I don't know anything about that, right? So I would hire experts to help me go through that. And I would hand them the paint by numbers because they built houses before, and I would have great confidence that they would do it better than me.
So that's the map to and the playbook for all franchisors. That's what you really want. And part of that is, he said exit. Some of it, like you as a founder, you've never done this before. What's your lid? What kind of founder are you? Are you a founder to 50 units? Are you a founder to 100 units? Are you a founder to 500 franchisees or 1,000? Like what's your leadership lid? And it's okay to build, to exit, build, to have somebody else come in and take that brand to the next level. And so I wanted to bring that in because some people think like, no, I will never sell this thing. Selling may or may not be right for you as a franchisor. Back up a little bit, Bobby, I want to kick it over to you to talk about like new franchisors, emerging brands, and the franchise sales aspect of it. Because in order to scale, in order to build enterprise value, you need franchisees. And nobody better to, kind of talk to, because you've recently, been working with so many different brands and helping them go from emerging to kind of full circle where they have exited. And so what do you wish new emerging brands, the franchisors, the founders knew about the sales process, the awarding franchise process?
No, I think Jeff hit on a lot of good points. And one of the things,
well, not too many good points. He may have had a good point or two in there, but let's not give him too much credit.
You're like the governor. You're like the governor on a really awesome golf cart. Like right when it gets to that point where you're like, yeah, Eric's like the fun police. Is like, no,
he's not.
Can't give Jeffner a big head.
No, but I really do believe, I think Jeff, you kind of hit the nail on the head. What got you here won't necessarily get you to the next level. The best players don't always make the best coaches. And as a franchisor, maybe they have 3, 4, 5 locations and they're crushing it. But can you teach and mentor and coach other people to be successful? Because as a franchisor, you need to be obsessed with franchisee success, profitability, success, and doing everything you can to make them successful, especially if you're a new franchisor. I can't overstate that enough. Like, you have to be obsessed with their success, because those first few franchisees are going to be validators. They're going to set the tone for the entire system. And if you have a couple franchisees that get in and you're not over supporting them and with white glove treatment, you're going to have a tough go at really scaling your brand, because the first couple franchisees don't have nice things to say. And so I think just being prepared, to your point, Eric, of the infrastructure, it is expensive to franchise your business. Just a franchise.
Back up. So many people that we just talked to somebody else the other day. They're like, we got an email from them, Jeff, after a first or second call. They're like, I don't want to put any more money into my franchise. And that is, that's a no-go for us. Like, if you're a founder, he didn't want to work in his franchise anymore. So he should have heard the first rule of franchising: don't franchise. But so, like, as you say that, so many people, new franchisees out there are going to hear like, yeah, Bobby, of course it's expensive. It costs money. But I'm telling you, from in the trenches where the 3 of us sit talking to so many of these young brands, some of them don't have the money. They don't have access to the money, or they don't want to put in their money to grow that brand like it should. So these are the conversations that we have with them. So to that point, like, that's a real thing, and founders should really understand it is not inexpensive to franchise your business.
It's kind of like marriage, right? It's expensive up front. The first couple of years are hard, especially as a franchisor. Like, it's tough. And really the first couple of years, they're probably not making a ton of money. It's really, you're putting it forward when you're signing these 5, 10-year franchise agreements, that you're going to win on the back end. You're not necessarily going to win your first couple of years, and having the right expectations, I think, is so important for a franchisor. So making sure you can be a coach, you can mentor, you can help scale, you're willing to invest into the franchise system, and you're willing to build a team. I think just getting the right team in place, because at some point it's going to be more than you can handle as a founder, as a franchisor. You have to build a strong team.
So before you dive deeper into the team, I want to talk to the new people looking at a franchise out there. These are probably some things that you need to understand, like, who is their team? Who's not necessarily like maybe be on payroll, but who's advising them? Do they have experience growing to 100 units or 200 units? What kind of leadership are they bringing in? What kind of advisors do they have? How active are they? And going back to the money standpoint, like, how much money do these founders have, and are they putting into the business and investing into the business? You don't have to ask them how much money are you putting into the business, but you just look at the infrastructure that they're building. Do they have a really robust LMS, learning management system, already? Because that's, it's money and it's resources and it's expertise. So if they don't have an LMS, that might be one red flag that you have already. Even if they don't have very many franchisees yet, if they don't have a learning management system, a place that you can go in and get audio and video and kind of all the how-tos, like, that's something that they should have. It's one of the first things that we do at Front Street. So there's ways for you franchise lookers out there, people that are thinking about getting into franchising, to validate some of this stuff without asking a direct question, because you see what kind of resources they are already deploying into the business to meet the growth that they anticipate. So keep going, Bobby.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a great point, just because you hit on, hey, they don't need to be experts. You honestly want your franchisor, as I mentioned, obsessed with the franchisee success. Outsource the stuff that other experts can do, whether it's real estate, if it makes sense for them, franchise development or some advisory. But a lot of the franchise sales groups that are out there, they may only do sales. Do they bring other value? Are they, getting the franchisor in with the right partners? You got to look at all those things as a franchisee when you're looking through, because franchise salespeople are good, right? Not all brands are created equal. It's not the same. They can make great fancy presentations or workbooks or whatever, but ultimately you've got to validate, do you align with the brand? Do you feel comfortable with their systems and processes? And there's brands that are going to be pioneering brands, and there's going to be brands that are going to be early or late adopters. Like if you jump onto Orange Theory Fitness today, good luck, but you're a late adopter. If you jump onto some of the other brands like we work with, those are going to be pioneering brands, but our goal is the next big thing that's going to be a national brand in a couple of years. But as a franchisor, when you're thinking about franchising, number one, am I willing to do what it takes to make these franchisees successful? It is a long and windy road. But then you look at the cost. Whether you bring development in-house or you do it externally, it's going to cost them $1 million to do it in-house right, because you're probably hiring somebody that you're going to have to pay an arm and a leg for that has experience. Otherwise, you're going to really fumble your way through the process. Creating a franchise sales process from scratch is really difficult, and knowing just the nuances and how to keep those candidates moving through the process, but also vet them out, because just like a lot of the brands we talk to, most of the candidates we talk to aren't the right fit. They're just not. It's a two-way interview process, and making sure I'm not selling territories, I'm awarding territories as a franchisor. That is so key. That is a two-way interview. It's not about just getting somebody in that's willing to buy your brand. And as a new franchisor, you think, oh my gosh, somebody wants to buy my brand. Awesome, let's do it. Let's sign them up. And they forget, they get blinded by the excitement that, is this person going to be successful? Are they a good culture fit? Are they a good financial fit? Are they gritty? Are they willing to do what it takes? And are they going to be a good neighbor to my future franchisees around them? Or are they going to be a toxic teammate? You got to really think about those things as a franchisor. Whether you bring it in-house or go external, it's a heavy lift. If you go external, then to your point, look at what is the value that group, private equity, franchise sales, whatever it may be, third party, what are they bringing outside of just sales? Because if it's just sales, you're hiring a mercenary. There's nothing wrong with that, but you're not going to get some of the tribal knowledge and learnings that I think you can really help a franchisor grow and call out your blind spots. Because as Jeff said, you don't know what you don't know. Hey, here's what you need to start thinking about. The collective experience we have is, tens of thousands of franchises, but we can tell people what we've seen franchisors make mistakes before they make them. And I think that's invaluable if you have, whether it's someone internal, whether it's a third party, someone to kind of be 2 steps ahead and help you understand what's coming. Just number one, set expectations, but number two, make sure you don't, crash on the road whenever you're driving along that path.
Attention, franchisors and franchisees. There are 2 really important resources that I want to share with you that will help you avoid costly mistakes and increase your enterprise value. The first is our free Facebook group. It's a community that has over 4,000 franchisees and franchisors in it. When somebody asks a question, they get honest and authentic answers from multiple perspectives. You can join the group for free over at franchisesecrets.com/Facebook. The second resource I want to share with you is if you're a franchisor and you're frustrated that you're not awarding as many franchises as you thought you would, this is the reason I created the Franchisor Mastermind. If you want access to the information, the techniques that the best franchise sales organizations are using to award franchises, and you want what mature brands have with their playbook of having happy, successful franchisees that grow the right way, then you might want to check out the Franchisor Mastermind. The reason why people join is they want access to my Rolodex, my connections. They want the playbook to achieve both short-term and long-term success. They want to increase enterprise value in their brand. Links will be in the show notes or at scalablefranchise.com. So one of the things that I love is I see people, you can pay for this. There's people like me. I don't do this anymore, but I used to be an advisor to brands for equity positions, so advisory shares. I don't do that anymore because we're doing too many things at Front Street. So I stopped taking advisory shares and advisor, but you can find people that can do that and they add a lot of value to the brand, or they should, and vet them out. When I would work with brands like that, they would vet me out. I would vet them out. You can read books, you can listen to podcasts, you can get into a Facebook group like the Franchise Secrets Facebook group. By the way, if you're not in there, go to franchisesecretsgroup.com, ask lots of questions in there. Now, I know franchisees and franchisors that have listened to things that they've learned on my podcast, other people's podcasts, and all free. We pay to produce this stuff. People learn for free and they execute. They're executors. And I love that. So you don't have to pay somebody to do all of this. Now that's the shortcut, paying an expert and having them, give you their wisdom. And that's why people eventually come to Front Street or work with us in different ways. But you don't have to do that. You just need to learn and understand what you don't know and get really good at asking questions and being okay if they're dumb questions. And there's a lot of what people would think are dumb questions in the Franchise Secrets group, but they get such great help out of that. So find resources like that. If you are a new a person that's looking at a franchise, or you're thinking about franchising your business, or you are a franchisor and you need help getting from point B to C or C to D or whatever it is. But Jeff, not to throw Bobby under the bus or anything, but it is his first time on the podcast. So he may have missed something in what he was saying. So anything you want to add to what Bobby was saying, or something that you want to bring up that he may not have hit?
Yeah, of course. I always have plenty to say, right, Eric?
I know. I have to shut you down sometimes.
You do.
I
you do a
have
good
to
job.
do this sometimes or this. So it's really difficult when we're recording like this, because I can't quite just punch you in the gut.
Hit the gong, get them out of here.
Yeah.
Should have hit music on. Yeah, a couple things. So, part of preparation, part of like the go-to-market piece and getting prepared to be a franchisor, there are expenses involved. And I put these expenses kind of into three categories. The first one is the must-haves. Like it's just, you cannot franchise without these things. And that's going to be like a franchise disclosure document. There's a certain amount of legal work that has to be done in order for you to offer a business opportunity as a franchise to others. Fact, just reality. That's a must-have. And that even has layers to it as well. So you prepare the document, but then you might want to, that's going to get you good to go in 31 states. Then there's business opportunity states and there's registration states. And if you want some of those states you can hold off on, but the core document, you just can't. That's a must have. And there's expense around that.
And even with that core document, that doesn't
make you a franchisor.
They're not all created equal. Like there's a document that you can get that is like a generic, like ops manual, a generic of whatever. Like it's a generic document that anybody can just rip off and duplicate from anybody else. You have to have an attorney do it, but then there's a document that helps create, we won't get into all of it, that really can help you create that enterprise value. Like that can have your business be worth twice the amount if you do it the right way, or half the amount if you do it the wrong way. It can help you sell, or it could repel buyers based on what you have in there and how you have it put in there. And it's not a salesy type thing. It's a packaging it up in a right way to help people evaluate your brand in a really good way and allow your team to be able to talk about more in the sales process, the franchise development process. If it's in there, the salespeople can talk more about certain things. So I just wanted to hit on that because it's one simple thing. That's one must have. FDD. They're not all created equal. And there's like, we spend many hours helping our brands craft an amazing FDD that not only protects them, it helps them create enterprise value and helps franchisees look at the brand in a better way.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you hit it on the head. Like I always talk about, everything's on a spectrum. So the quality of an FDD could be on a spectrum. The cost of that FDD could be on a spectrum. You got to think about it though. Like the dream of these people is to become a franchisor and build a national system. If that's the dream, then it probably doesn't make a lot of sense to go with a firm that's going to give you just something pretty boilerplate and is super cheap. Like chances are you probably are going to have to spend a little bit extra so that you have that right document, so that you can kind of fulfill your own personal dream and mission. So the FDD, like there's legal work those are what we call like must haves. That's just rules. It's the rules, FTC rules. All right. The next kind of category is what I would say is like need to have. You're not forced to do it, but you just shouldn't franchise your business unless you have some of these things. Some of this is going to be around like technology, right? So we talk about learning management systems a lot. You have to have a central portal. You have to have a central nervous system of your brand that becomes the place where franchisees go for brand standards, operating manuals, training, education, brand standards, that kind of stuff. And, all software today is like, it's SaaS, right? So there's kind of like a monthly fee. But when you're building out something that's customized to your company, there's always going to be an upfront onboarding type expense so that this software company can pair you with a project manager that can help build it out with you. And in my opinion, once again, if you want to go to market and you want to build something nationwide, this is just a tool that we believe your system is going to have. So I put that in kind of like the need to have. Another type of software that you kind of need to have is you have to have some kind of territory mapping platform, right? So that you can provide when you are talking to a potential candidate and they're saying, tell me about my area. You can't just go to just U.S. Census Bureau data. Yes, that's important, but that's just one little sliver of hundreds of slivers that could be put in. And there are companies there are third-party companies that provide this. And once again, there's an ongoing subscription fee, but then there's also a cost of building this out, doing the modeling based on your existing customers with your existing company so that you can create territory, you can manage territory, you can make sure there's proper spacing between one franchisee and another. So that's another example of like, I call it a need to have. Like the must have FDD legal work, that's a must have, FTC requirement. But things like learning management systems or territory development software, you just can't go to market without this stuff. It just doesn't make any sense.
No, you should go to market. Keep that thought, Jeff, because you shouldn't go to market with.
You shouldn't go to market. You can, but it's once again, I call that a need.
You shouldn't. It costs money. It takes time, and you do need some expertise in there. And all of this stuff isn't cheap. Like there's a lot that goes into a learning management system to do it right, to really build it out. Even territory management. We had some of our brands in the other day. All of us were there. And we were, going deep into territory management. And I think for new franchisees out there that are or franchise buyers out there looking at a franchise, I think it's okay to ask the franchisor, what's your territory management system? How do you really help me find a location? How do you know it's a good location? How do you know this is a good territory? That's the kind of like, what kind of information do they feed the territory management? Because it helps the franchisor manage the territories so they don't build on top of each other, so they don't build right next to each other. And they really give them data that if you start looking at really what these territory management systems can provide from a data standpoint, it's unreal. Like we were looking at some of the data the other day and we were laughing at some of it, but some of it was just like, holy cow, it's next level. This stuff wasn't available, 10 years ago like it is today. So again, this goes back to Bobby's point is it costs money. It costs a lot of money to start a franchise as a franchisor. Territory management is a place where franchisors need to be spending money. They're not forced to, but they should. To Jeff's point, it's a need to have. So start to understand what's their LMS like, what's their territory management system, and why do they have it? And so that again, you don't ask them how much money have you put into the business. It doesn't matter how much money they put into the business. You want to know that they're spending money in the right places. And that's really what we're talking about. So you can validate some of this stuff as a new franchisee. Keep it going, Jeff. You're on a roll.
Erik, you're saying that just because a lot of cars are driving by doesn't mean that's a great spot for my franchise?
So the next thing is going to be, people. People, product, process. There's a bunch, but people is really important. So sometimes you'll look at a document, and inside that document, there's a section that kind of says, who's on the leadership team here? Who are the needle movers within this organization, this franchise? It becomes tough when you open that up and you kind of just see that the only person in that section is the founder, because that means that that's the only person that's going to do every single thing for a new franchisee, while at the same time, they also have their corporate business, locations, whatever. It's just not practical. It's like, you can't be the bottle washer to the maitre d' and everything in between and own a restaurant. It won't work, right? So now the good news is that this can scale, but there are some important people, whether you insource them or outsource them, that you have to have that are going to help you support these franchisees. Typically, you're talking about somebody that's dedicated to training and education. You're talking about somebody that is dedicated to marketing. You are talking about somebody that's dedicated to operations. Those are kind of like three pieces that you just have to have. It's a need to have, right? It kind of fits into that need to have. You don't, technically the only must have is this legal document, right? But you have to have some people that understand the business of franchising businesses and have worked with franchisees before. And you can't just be this founder that's going to attempt to do everything because you want to save a little bit of money. So you don't need to hire a ton of people. A lot of times when we're working with, brands, we bring in some fractional C-level talent, a fractional CFO, a fractional COO, a fractional CMO. These are people that have built, they have built franchise systems and had leadership, C-level leadership roles. So that's a good example of, hey, you're not going to need a true CFO, CMO, COO when you're a 0-unit brand or a 5-unit brand, but you are going to need some people that do probably work on the corporate payroll around marketing, training, education, and operations, that can also work with these fractional partners or agency partners or whatever it is. So that's in that.
Well, let's, before you get what's next on the fractional piece, and Bob, I don't know if you have anything to chime in here, but one of the things to think about is you get that fractional C-level person, and then you have a lower level, let's call it a director of marketing that really could be a CMO at some point. That fractional C-level CMO can train that marketing person to be more of a CMO. And, maybe it takes 6 months, maybe it takes a year, but that's part of what a fractional C-level executive can do, is not only get the work done, be the quarterback and get stuff done for your brand, because you don't need them full time. But when you do need them full time, they've already groomed that next person that they've helped raise up.
The C-level person is strategy, vision, access to agency relationships. And then the internal director of this or that is the integrator. And that's the perfect ham and egg solution. That puts you in a position for success early on. So yeah.
And I've seen it with a couple of brands too, that again, to your point, Jeff, they're early on, they don't need a full-time person, but you can't do it all by yourself. It just doesn't make sense. And as a franchisee, that's a red flag. When it's, hey, the corporate team's only this, and they don't, even if it's outsourced, you want to see support. Because if they sell 10, 15, 20 franchisees, are you going to no longer get support is what I think. So you want to make sure they have access to that. But those fractional people can really help create the systems and processes that they already use across tons of different concepts or brands and help you implement those, save you a lot of time, a lot of headaches, and a lot of money. And no, it doesn't feel like it as a new franchisor when you're spending money, but some of those mistakes can be extremely costly, and unwinding a lot of things if done wrong from the beginning, it's like steering the Titanic, right? It doesn't happen overnight. So if you get somebody early on to help even just implement, hey, here's the systems and processes, and your own person can execute upon those, the value add there is it's going to be exponential down the road as you grow and scale the franchise system the right way versus having a bunch of broken parts that you have to kind of backtrack and fix every time you add more franchisees.
So we've hit the need to have technology and people. Do we have anything more on people, Jeff, or do we have another?
So you got the third bucket. Don't forget about the third bucket.
See, I don't know anybody that would forget about the third bucket.
So bucket number one's the must-have, right? We put legal into that. There could be others, but we're trying to, for the sake of time here. Second category is your need to have, right? So we talked about technology, we talked about people. There's others, but there you go. So, and then the third bucket's the wants, the want to haves, right? You're going to want to have this. And I think the biggest one there that I would put in there is what's the plan to recruit great franchisees, right? When you are a new brand, I see it a lot of times when we talk to somebody that has a small handful of franchisees and there's kind of a struggle there. It's probably because the first franchisee of their system was a customer of some sort or a friend or a neighbor or a relative or a business associate. And they wanted in, but it just didn't kind of work out because they didn't have what real true first franchisees need to have. And there's something called the Rogers adoption curve, right? And the first, when anybody's going to adopt anything, right, and it's going to take off, the smallest piece is what they call pioneers or innovators, okay? And this is like 2.5% of the human population fit into this category. That's it. When you are a new franchise company, you need rock star pioneers. You need it, right? Because they're going to be a little bit more flexible when the system is going through early growing pains. These are folks that can add value to the system. They are going to get the best territory in their area because the whole country's open. They are going to have direct access to the CEO of the company, right? Whereas down the road, when somebody has 300 franchisees, it might be a little bit tougher to get that CEO on the phone and say, hey, let's spend 2 hours working through this idea. It's not going to happen, typically. So the brand needs that and wants that, right? The brand wants that. And the right pioneers and innovators, they also want to be early on because they know that they're probably getting in maybe at a lower franchise fee than future franchisees. They might be getting in at a starter rate of royalty. And as the system grows and needs to increase royalty, they're locked in. They're getting that right territory. And they want that access. They've been a part, they've been a pioneer of something, whether it's another franchise system or maybe they built their own business. They've gone through that. And I think that there's an amazing symbiotic relationship there. And that works. Now the next layer, right? So that could be your first 10 franchisees really need to be in that 2.5% of the population and they're pioneers and they're innovators because that's what the brand needs, right? So you want to get those people. And then after that, you have early adopters. That's the next layer. And that's like 15, 16% of the population. And they want to know that there's pioneers ahead of them, but that's kind of like your next 20 or 30 franchisees. And then there's other layers, right? So the reason that I kind of put in like the want to haves is you as a brand, you want to have the right innovators and pioneers as your first franchisees. Then you're going to want to have the right early adopters. These are people that understand that it's a new concept. They want to be on the front end. They want to say, hey, I was franchisee number 4. And that really worked. So the reason we're talking about like expense here is you have to have a plan, a recruitment plan to find these type of people. Now you're going to want to put some money behind this. You got to have some kind of organic strategy, right? You have to put yourself out there, social, digital, SEO, pay-per-click, whatever it is. You're going to want to have some of that. Because that's how you're going to find these type of people that I'm talking about. In addition to that, if you're early on, you're probably going to want to bring in franchise consultants / brokers to help find the right pioneers and innovators that you need early on, or the early adopters as you get past that first 10 or 15. These things cost money. To join into a broker network, to participate in that platform, to go to their conferences, to work with their folks, it costs money. You don't have to have it, but you're going to want to have that. That's why I kind of put in the want to have bucket. And you're also, the good thing about brokers is they don't get paid unless there's a match. So that's wonderful. There is a hard cost, though, associated of joining that platform and being a part of that platform. But the bulk of the cost is going to come when a franchise is awarded and the system is then going to pay out to the person that introduced them to that. On the organic side, you're going to have that hard cost up front, but you don't maybe have as high of a variable cost once you actually convert that franchisee. You're going to want to have, sometimes people will talk to us, Eric, and we'll say, okay, what's the plan here? And they'll say, well, our brand is in Atlanta. We just want to start in Georgia and the Carolinas. Can we do that for like 6 months? We want to get the first 10. And we say, man, that's really hard. You have to go wide, right? You want to register. You want to register in all these states. You want to be able to offer. If you're trying to go out there and find these pioneers, you can't just try to find them. It's the needle in the haystack if it's got to be in your backyard. So these are things that I believe you want to have. You want to put money behind finding pioneers and innovators with an organic strategy, with a broker strategy, and those things cost money.
Now, I think with this, it's important to note this, and we're going to wrap up. This is if you want to grow enterprise value. If you want to kind of prove out that model a little bit more, you're not 100% confident in that model as the founder, you do want to grow regionally. You don't want to travel from Atlanta to California where your first franchisee is. That's a different strategy. You're probably still a kind of a mom and pop that's dipping their toe into franchising versus ready to be a franchisor and grow enterprise value. So I think Jeff is talking to brands that want to grow. They are a franchisor, or they know they're a franchisor. They want to get in a bunch of franchisees to help them grow and be successful, and everybody win at the end of the day. If you are a brand right now and they're out there that are not quite sure if you got into franchising for the right reasons, not sure you really want to do it, then you might want to kind of grow in a tri-state area or a geographical zone, and it's going to be slow. It's going to be, it's a different animal. Bobby, any last thoughts before I let everybody go? And then Jeff, any last thoughts? Because I've got another one to record. I got a former CEO of Jimmy John's coming on next. That went from 30 locations to 300. So that'll be a fun one.
No, I mean, just to piggyback what you guys just kind of talked about too, there's different strategies, and one may be right for you and one may not be. You need to be able to take inventory of where you're at, what type of franchisor you want to be, how you want to grow, what you want to do, and know that. Don't try to be something that you're not, right? If that's not who you are. If you want to grow regionally and do it slow, do that. That's the right thing for you. But if you do want to grow exponentially, become a national brand and grow quickly, you're going to need to listen to, those must-haves, nice-to-haves, and need-to-haves in the wish list that we just talked about. But, identify who you are and find out where you're at in the process. And then that really will give you a good, I'll say, indication of what direction you should go.
Jeff, the pressure's on you. You got 30 seconds to give the most incredible 30-second sound bite to close this thing out.
Yes. So I live my life according to probabilities and possibilities. And I try to play in the probability category in every facet of my life. So if I'm gonna go forward with something, I want to make sure that I've done everything humanly possible to increase the probability of getting what I want. And so I think that's a lot of what we talked about today. It is possible to just do a franchise disclosure document, go to market, and it miraculously all works out. but it's so highly improbable that I just wouldn't do it. And this gets all the way back to like first rule of franchising is don't franchise your business. If you do want to franchise your business, then you want to do everything humanly possible to make it highly probable that you win. And we talked about how to win today on this call.
Dude, that was a great soundbite. The pressure was on and you nailed it. Boys, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks, man.
Thanks for listening to the Franchise Secrets podcast. Links to everything can be found over at franchisesecrets.com. And if you want my help with anything from starting your own franchise to growing your current franchise business, please visit scalablefranchise.com.